This is a short demonstration on 6 simple dart manipulations using the pivot method. These basic techniques of moving dart around the bodice are the first steps in understanding how to relocate darts without compromising shape. Once these basic dart exercises are understood, you can change dart locations almost anywhere to create new designs and interesting shapes. The following dart exercises start by locating the areas of the pattern that remains unchanged. These areas are traced out in red. Waist dart. Start tracing from the side seam dart up around the armhole, shoulder, neck, and down the centre front to the waist dart. Pivot from the apex, closing the side seam dart and opening the waist dart. With a ruler, draw in the new dart. Centre front bust dart. Mark in the new dart position. Start tracing from the waist dart along the waistline and up the centre front, stopping at the new dart position. Pivot and close the waist dart and continue tracing along the waistline up the side seam to the side seam dart. Pivot and close the side seam dart and continue tracing along and up to armhole, shoulder, neckline and down to centre front. Mark in new dart. Centre front neck dart. Mark in the new dart position. Tracing down the centre front to the waist dart, pivot and close. Continue tracing along waist to side seam dart, pivot and close. Continue tracing along, finishing at the new centre front neck dart and marking in new dart. Centre shoulder dart. Mark in the new dart position. Tracing along waist, centre front, neck to middle of shoulder. Pivot and close waist dart and continue tracing along waist to side seam dart. Pivot and close and continue to new dart position and marking in new dart. Armhole dart. Mark in the new dart position. Trace along armhole, shoulder and neck, centre front to waist dart. Pivot and close. Continue tracing to side seam dart. Pivot and close. Continue to new armhole dart position and mark in new dart. Side seam dart. Start tracing from waist dart up centre front, neck, shoulder and armhole to side seam dart. Next, pivot and close waste dart, throwing all dart fullness into side seam dart. Mark in new dart position.